Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast, coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We don't want you to miss a single episode, so please be sure to subscribe today on Podbean or wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is a marketing director for Familius Publishing. Her name is Kate Farrell. We would be so very, very happy if you would visit readingwithyourkids.com/yummy, readingwithyourkids.com/yummy. Go there and find out about the easiest way to snack smart and do good. We're talking about love with food. Love with Food helps you discover new, organic, all-natural, and gluten-free snacks delivered directly to your door every single month. And membership starts as low as $7.99 a month. And this is why we love Love with Food so much. Love with Food will donate a portion of the proceeds to help fight childhood hunger in the U.S. and all around the world. Love with Food donates to organizations like Feeding America and the Global Food Banking Network. So join us to help end childhood hunger one meal at a time. Visit readingwithyourkids.com/yummy to say goodbye to boring grocery store selections and to start snacking smart and doing good with Love with Food. Joining us on the line right now from southern New Hampshire, right down the road from Reedville. This woman has been really influential here on the Reading with Your Kids podcast. She has helped us create tons and tons of content. You've never heard of her before. You've never heard her voice. Well, today you get to meet Kate Farrell, who is marketing director for Familius Publishing. Kate, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Dudley. Nice to finally talk to you on the phone.
Yes, it is. We've been sharing emails back and forth for probably a year and a half or so. There's so many authors that she has referred us to. She has set up our interview that we had with Christopher Robbins, the president of Familius, also David Miles, who had been the creative director, and I really love working with Familius. First off, it's just so easy working with Kate, but I also love the products that Familius is putting out there. They're really dynamic. They're very diverse, really creative, and I love Familius's motto. Why don't you remind us of Familius's motto, please, Kate?
Yes, so it's helping families be happy.
Yeah. And what a joy to be working for a company where your primary goal is to help families be happy.
Oh, it definitely is. It's grown a lot. I actually started out as an intern for Familius way back when, and the company has just grown immensely, and it's really exciting to see how many readers and families have bought our books in the past and how we keep growing and acquiring new titles and adding more authors and illustrators to the family too.
That's really wonderful. I wanted Kate to come on today for a couple of reasons. It's they typically you release your books or your catalogs in the fall. Am I right about that?
So we just actually released our fall 2019 catalog, and then we also have a spring. And so we'll release the catalog for that in the fall.
Okay, so we definitely wanted to give Kate a chance to give us a preview of all of the great books that are going to be coming out. We actually have a number of authors for these new books. They're already lined up, so we'll be featuring them at some point over the summer and into the fall. But I also wanted to have Kate on to share some of her knowledge about marketing, especially marketing books, because we have so many authors on the who listen to the show, so many indie authors who listen to the show, and so many. And I think one of the things that I know it surprised me, it surprises a lot of authors, is most authors think, I wrote the book, I handed it in, it's going to be published, I'm done. And the reality is that's when the job starts.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely true. And it's something that we do our best to definitely support. I know that's my primary job, is to work with authors and make sure they're very clear about what they can do to help promote their books. But really, with social media and so many of the things that have come along and totally changed the way that people communicate, marketing has just changed immensely over the past even 5 years since I was an intern. And so, I mean, the first thing I do when I like an author or a book is I look it up on Goodreads or on social media, because if I get very invested in a story, I want to know more about the work and the love that went into creating that story and sort of the worlds that they created too. So I think it's kind of just a natural next step for really engaged readers to try to go online and find out more. And so you want to have a presence that really supports the things that you're writing about and gives people more places to find you and lets them stay connected, so that if you have another book that comes out or if you have a sale, it's just a really easy way for you to keep communicating with those readers and have a really engaged audience that sticks with you. And so that does kind of have to come from the author.
Mm-hmm. Now, am I right in thinking that the time to start building your audience and your presence on social media, it really has to start before the book is written and published? Am I right about that?
I mean, I wouldn't say it has to, because I don't want anyone to feel like they can't publish a book if they don't have really huge platforms on social. That's definitely not true. But I would also say it's never too early to set up those things and try to, create an email list or just get people excited about you and the things that you're working on. And as far as marketing goes, I think my perspective is just that it should be really natural. You've worked so hard on this baby, your book, and you've put so much time and energy into it. It should be easy to go on and tell people that you're excited about the process, and tell people, hey, I just saw the cover. Here it is. Let's get excited. Let's share this if you can. And I think people will be excited for you. So I think just to keep that energy and to keep in mind that it's kind of an endurance event and does last after the book comes out too. I think that's really important.
Yeah. One of the terms that I use, especially in terms of promoting different episodes, is I always mention that this author is on to celebrate their new book, because I really just think that's the reality. It's like, yeah, people go on podcasts to sell their books, but for the most part, the guests that come on our show are just so excited about their books, and the books are really important to them. And it's almost, almost the idea of just telling people about the book is more important than actually selling the book for a lot of authors.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah. So how did you get into marketing? Is this working with a publishing house? Is that something that you always dreamed of?
So it's actually a little bit of a funny story. I grew up thinking I was going to be a psych, English, and bio triple major. And I always loved to read, carried books with me to my cousin's basketball games, on my first dates, everywhere. And I guess I just thought it was like a completely mind-consuming just passion that I had, but I never really thought that it could be a job for me. And then when I was 15, I read the Hunger Games series. Are you familiar with those? The trilogy?
I certainly am.
Okay, so I read those books, totally fell in love with them, and none of my friends had read them yet. So I really wanted to talk about them because I was super excited about the books. Went online and found some really old school book forums and just started talking about books way too much on those forums. I would come home from school, my math homework would wait a long time to be addressed by me, and I would just go and discuss different books. Started out mostly with Hunger Games, Harry Potter, and then I was just talking about everything I was reading, and made a lot of really neat internet friends, had some great conversations about plot and character and predicting what was going to happen next. And then eventually I was posting so much on those sites that I was asked to take over a Hunger Games news site. it was actually right after Catching Fire came out. So they asked me to run a podcast for the release of the book at a local Borders bookstore. Do you remember Borders too? Now they're gone.
I do, and I miss them.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it was a great space, and we had a really fun live podcast for that website. Then I was asked to officially take over the site and be a co-admin. So the domain owner and I were co-admins, and we were both on every day, posting Twitter content, Facebook. We had a YouTube page, and we would post news. Fan art submissions would come to us. We did a lot of giveaways. And then Scholastic and Lionsgate actually ended up asking, I think it was like the top 5 or 6 fan sites at the time to kind of play a role in supporting the movie promotion and the last book, Mockingjay. So I kind of just hit the timing right and ended up being a part of their press releases, and people would go on and find different pieces of news on different sites. So it was almost like a mini press tour with information kind of sprinkled across the internet on those top sites for people to find. We had about 40,000 viewers a day at the peak. So I'm like 16 years old writing content that is going to 40,000 people. And this is when fan sites were, the Harry Potter fan sites were the original ones, but this was kind of before blog marketing, I think, had really taken off. I think Lionsgate and Scholastic did a really great job of noticing how much people and fans on these sites were invested in the stories and kind of taking advantage of that and using us to just naturally promote their products and their books. And so I kind of just fell into it like that and ended up working on the fan site for almost 7 years, through the rest of high school, through college. Ended up in sophomore year, I took the Familius internship in marketing. Very natural step because I'd been writing press releases for a long time at that point. And then I ended up making my own major about books and films and how they impact communities and create conversations for social change and inspire people. And so that's how I fell into this job. And then right out of college, I worked for the Screen Actors Guild Awards out in LA for a little while. Kind of the book to film background led to that. And then the position at Familius opened up.
I think it's wonderful. There's so many people that I hear that they have this vision. Well, I'm going to do this. Even my little niece is telling me, well, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be this. And they have their whole kind of life marked out for themselves, which is really good to have these dreams. But it's wonderful that you're able, and it's important for everybody to kind of be able to roll with the punches. And be able to deal with the little surprises that life throws your way. And it certainly sounds like you dealt with them really well.
Thank you. I feel extremely lucky to have had the opportunities that I've had. And I'm also very grateful that I've had a supportive family who let me kind of pursue my dreams and passions when there's not really a guarantee. Like when I was creating my own major, I'm not sure if they quite knew where it was going to go, but I'm lucky that I had support.
That's wonderful. Now, one of the things you mentioned a couple of things that I want to talk about. I did want to ask you about carrying a book on a first date, but I'm going to leave that one set. Can't imagine what your date would have thought when you showed up with a book.
You have to bring a very big purse. That's the key.
One of the things that you mentioned earlier on was that marketing has changed, and I know myself marketing my live educational magic shows. What worked for me 5 years ago doesn't work at all these days, and so marketing has really changed so much. And one of the things that it excites me, it terrifies me, is the idea that you can come out of, I know you took a different path, but even somebody coming out of college with a marketing degree, maybe even a master's in marketing, whatever they learned in college as they're graduating here in June of 2019, a lot of that information is going to be obsolete by June of 2021. It's
definitely an intense time of change right now. And I think you kind of just have to jump in and do what you can to keep your eye on everything. I mean, one of the things that's difficult about marketing and many jobs really is that there are so many opportunities out there to collaborate or to grow or to pitch things that I don't think that any of us will ever feel like our work is done. Like at the end of the day, I always have 600 more people that I wanted to pitch, but you kind of just have to be aware that you're trying and monitor everything, like I said, that's going on. So whether that's subscribing to marketing newsletters, going on and reading different trade publications, they have awesome newsletters too, and that gives you a really good feel for what's going on with competitors, with different multimedia platforms are often covered in like the PW newsletters, Kirkus, Shelf Awareness, forward reviews. Like the trade publications put out really great online content as well that you can spend, a little bit of time every day and at least get some basic facts of what's going on, and that will keep you in the know and sort of direct you to where you can go to learn more as well.
Mm-hmm. So much to learn, and I don't want any authors out there to feel overwhelmed and to just throw up your hand and goes, well, I'm not even going to try to write a book now. This is what is going on with it. There's a lot of it. You take one little step at a time.
Absolutely.
And you're writing your book out there, and it's special to you. If you write your book and you're able to express this idea and share it, whether you're sharing it with just your family, you're sharing with a couple of people in your hometown, or maybe it blows up and it becomes the next Hunger Games. It doesn't matter. The idea is getting it out there, and that's where the joy comes in, is sharing your ideas with the world, I think.
Absolutely. And I think I mentioned this to you before, but if you have one reader who picks up your book and that book becomes special to them, I mean, I know from a publisher's standpoint, obviously we have to care about sales too, because we want the book to be getting to a lot of different families. But if you have one reader that book leaves an impression on them, it's worth it, right? I mean, you've put so much effort into it, and to have it be something that can make a change in someone's life, that's just amazing.
Yep. Absolutely. And, and the more you know about social media and marketing, if you're a mom at home, you think, why do I want to learn this? I don't want to be a marketer. This is really important stuff that you can share with your kids. Because the more knowledge you have about social media and using it to market, the more knowledge you're going to be able to share with your kids to help them stay safe when they're online, and how they can help, put out whatever message it is about themselves that they really want to have out there on social media.
Oh, absolutely. I totally believe that. And I think social media should just kind of, if you're comfortable being honest with your portrayal of yourself, and it's kind of just a way for you to share your thoughts across different platforms. And I don't think it has to be forced or fake at all. Just take your excitement about your projects and make sure you share it. And I think it can really be natural if you focus on staying grounded and reflecting every day on the process of putting together the book. You can just post that online.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we want to definitely make sure we have a lot of time to spend talking about the new books coming from Familius. I have to say, one of the things that, you were mentioning the creating books that make a difference in people's lives. One book that it's a recent Familius publication that made a difference in my life, and Kate was very nice enough to send me a copy, was Road Not Taken by, the story is that the poem is from Robert Frost, but Vivian Miniker created these amazing illustrations for the books, and it's a book that is in my library, and it's one that I share with my family, and also one that I share with friends, and it's just such a beautiful book, and it was such a nice way to reintroduce the poem to a new generation, I think.
Thank you. Yes, and thank you so much for your interview with Vivian too. That interview made me so happy because publishing can be a really intense process sometimes, and just the industry in general, where always on our toes and trying to stay ahead of everything and make sure that everyone's happy and that things get approved. And so to hear that Vivian really enjoyed the process of working with us, and she really did create incredible art for that book. And then to see it succeed as it has, it's really special to us too. And plus, Robert Frost he lived not far from me.
That's
so
right.
I grew up reading that book too, or that poem. And yes, and then actually right after the interview with you, she had that book featured in the New York Times Book Review. So that was really fun too.
Well, if there's any way I can take credit for getting into the New York
Yes.
Times, I will take it. I don't think so, but you know what? So tell us about the new things that we can look forward to seeing from Familius.
Yes. So there's actually quite a lot coming up. We're very excited. We have a really strong catalog. For the coming years, really. So we actually just released May 1st, the little book of foster care inspiration by Dr. John DeGarmo.
My buddy, Dr. John, he is coming on the show to talk about that book. I didn't realize it was a Familius publication.
Yes, yeah. So when is he coming on the show?
He just had to reschedule the interview, but it will be on in the next, probably sometime in June. So,
that's wonderful.
I'm really excited.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
John.
he's great.
Yes, absolutely. John is wonderful. He's been on this show a couple of, at least one time, but he's been on my other podcast a couple of times, and, really, really great speaker and such a great heart for just spreading that foster care love all around the world. It's amazing.
Yes, he actually won the Good Morning America Hero Award, I think it's called. I have to double check on that one. But he was on Good Morning America a while ago, and he is just, he has done so much in the foster care world. We just placed an ad in a National Foster Parent Association catalog, and when I called them about the ad, they were just talking about how much he's done for really people, because it can be a tough journey. And there are a lot of numbers that show that foster parents don't necessarily return it and do it again after the first time. And so he wants to prevent that burnout and really just give people some inspiring words. And so that's why it's actually the little book of foster care wisdom, and it has 365 days of inspiration and encouragement. And it's a special book. I've never fostered a child before, but I definitely feel like I've learned so much from Dr. John just from that book. So that's really exciting.
And did you know that Dr. John has a background in professional wrestling?
I did, actually.
I don't know if he still likes to promote that all that much.
I was going to say, I'm not sure if he sent that to me in any marketing materials, but I'm surprised you know about that. Good job. Good digging.
Oh, no. We know all about Dr. John. He was with Up With People, and his wife. We helped promote the group home that they opened up not too long ago down in Georgia. So Dr.
Right.
John's been a buddy. So all right. So what else?
Great.
What else do we have coming out from Familius?
So we also have a really cute board book called Let's Make Yoga Magic, and that comes out mid-month this month in May. And that is by Heather Leah. And it's illustrated by an illustrator that we've actually used before. She's wonderful, and her name is Sandy. My phone is making a noise. Sorry about that. And so that's a really cute book, and you go through every page, and like I said, it's an interactive board book, so you can move the people and kind of make the yoga poses, and then as you show the little characters making the yoga poses, it makes magical things happen in the environment around them, and it happens on the page, and it's just really fun. So look out for that for sure. And then we have Harriet's Monster Diary by Ron Milmed and Essie Abramson, and that just came out on May 1st as well. And that's part of a series. It's middle grade actually, which is a little bit unusual for us. But that's part of a series about mindfulness. And so that's a really great series that's sold very, very well. And we've gotten a lot of good feedback about that too. And that one's about tackling anxiety using mindfulness. So, super relevant right now. I know a lot of kids struggle with that. Then we have Master American History in 1 Minute a Day, and that's Roberts, who's the award-winning radio producer and host of A Moment in Time. Have you heard that show?
I don't know if I have. It's not ringing a bell right now. We'll have to investigate it.
Oh, definitely. He's great. And so that's a really fun book for the whole family, really, because it's really bite-sized pieces of history that you can pick up in the morning at the breakfast table, discuss, learn something new every day. So we're excited about that one. I know we have a lot of librarians who are really looking forward to having that in their collections, too. And then we have The Big Book of Family Games, which just came out from Brad Berger. He's great. He leads a lot of games and like business conferences and kind of bonding events. And his first book was Unplug and Play. So it was a first series of games from him. And these are like over 100 new games. But his first book was endorsed by J.J. Abrams. So that was really neat. And they're great games. I've tested some out. So that's really fun. And then that's just the end of the spring season for us. And then in the fall, we actually have some releases coming out in July. So I'll give you kind of teasers of those, and then people can follow us on social or go subscribe to our newsletters on www.familius.com if they want sort of news or updates about our new titles. Because we have so many in the fall. I don't even know if we'll have time to cover them all. But our early fall titles, which come out in July, are Bad Day Ice Cream, which is really fun, from Barbara Beery and Catherine Thompson. And Catherine wrote Drops of Awesome, which is one of our really steady selling backlist titles. And then Barbara has written a few different cookbooks. She did the Snow Princess cookbook for us, which is a really fun book. And she's also a best-selling cookbook author. Used to do some brand spokesperson work, so she's just really huge in the culinary world. And it is an ice cream cookbook that has a bunch of really fun recipes, different flavors, different types of sauces and things that you can put on the ice cream, and then inspirational quotes and just little bites of wisdom from Catherine, and humorous too. She's really funny. And so the idea is every time you have a bad day, you can go and say, I had a bad hair day today. What kind of ice cream will make me feel a little bit better? And we do have a disclaimer in there that, food is not the answer to problems, but just kind of the process of putting things together, and cooking can often be super therapeutic and can make you laugh and kind of get a better perspective on small things in life that are still really good and how you can make the day a little bit better. So that's a really fun book too. And it's beautiful. So
awesome.
We're excited about that one.
So many great things coming from Familius. And you mentioned that there's a way for folks to go to your website and sign up for your newsletter. And so can you remind us about that and how many times? I mean, 'cause some people are like freaked out. Oh, you're going to sell my information. I'm going to get an email from you every single day. That's not the case with Familius.
No, we don't do that. And our newsletters are usually pretty brief too. So you can go to our website, www.familius.com, and then it will pop up and you can say sign me up. And there's a few different newsletters you can sign up for. You can sign up for Familius in the news, so you can get updates if an author does an interview, or if we have a bestseller, sort of that kind of thing for people who want an email every 2 weeks, just kind of with updates, and you're really invested and want to hear podcasts and things. It's a fun one, I think, but up to you. And then our other email newsletter is called Habits of a Happy Family, and so we try to include we'll often have some really great sales in there. We'll throw a link into something that will be 40% off and sometimes even free shipping. And that will be a small collection of books along a common theme. So I know April's was Laugh Together, and that's one of our Habits of a Happy Family. Mm-hmm. And then we also will have a short piece written by an author, so a little bit of exclusive content in there, and then a couple of announcements if we have a new book that just came out, sort of just keeping people updated about things that are new. But definitely social media is updated probably the most frequently. So the Habits of a Happy Family, like I said, is just once a month. But then social media, specifically Instagram and Twitter, will have daily updates about things that are going on.
Awesome. So much. So you got to follow my buddy Kate and Familius on Instagram, on Twitter, and sign up for their newsletters. They have great stuff, so many great books. I'm so excited that Dr. John is a Familius author right now. Brad Berger's book, we just talked to Brad about the big book of games, and like I said, The Road Not Taken by Vivian Miniker is one of my favorite books. She was one of my favorite guests on the show. I had such a nice time speaking with her. I was going to say she was one of my favorite guests. Well, she is one of my favorite guests, and now I have a new favorite guest, Kate Farrell.
Thank you.
We've been talking to the marketing director for Familius Publishing, Kate Farrell. Kate, thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. And yes, please come and follow us because we have so many titles that are coming out soon that I know I didn't mention all of them. We even have 3 more coming out in July, but there's so many updates coming. So just make sure you come and subscribe. And also Familius does accept submissions from any and all authors. So if you have anything that you want to send our way, we're pretty good about reviewing anything. So feel free to reach out too.
Awesome. I think I'll do that myself. All right, yes. Kate Farrell. Thanks so much, Kate.
Thanks, Judley. Have a great day.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be the illustrator of the absolutely wonderful book, Love That I Matter to You, Sanghamitra Dasgupta. That's the book I wrote, and she's my illustrator. And I'm so happy to welcome her back to the show. That's the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Hey, if you are an author or if you're an illustrator and you'd love to tell the world about your work, about your books, please consider being a guest on the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Being a guest gives you the chance to tell thousands and thousands of people about your fantastic children's books. It's fun, it's easy, and all you need to do is go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the contact button. Let us know about your great book. My amazing producer, Fatima, will tell you all about the next steps. Hey, we want to thank Kate Farrell for being here today, sharing with us some great insight into marketing, also telling us all about all the wonderful books that are coming our way from Familius. Also want to thank the aforementioned producer of the podcast, Fatima Khan, for all she does for the show. I need to thank my beautiful wife for supporting me and listening to me do all this post-production in the studio. It drives her crazy, but she's wonderful and I love her. And I also want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.